There we go. All right, so welcome all, and a quick introduction for those who I haven't gotten to meet yet. My name is Julia Batchelder. I'm the events manager at Maine Cancer Foundation. So I'm the one who sends a lot of emails to you and nags sometimes, but I've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of you, but these are also some new faces on here. So huge thank you to everybody who has joined the clinic today, but also for participating in the TRI and for hanging in while we've had to obviously make a lot of changes this year, which are disappointing for everybody, but we've actually started to get pretty excited about the virtual event. And we're thrilled to have Andrea on the call today to talk to us about biking. And Julie and Andrea will go through a lot of that. But I just want to say thank you on behalf of Maine Cancer Foundation. As you all, I'm sure know, cancer is not social distancing through all of this, and cancer diagnoses are happening. People aren't currently getting screened, which is, we're anticipating an increase in diagnoses later this fall as people do get back out. So Maine Cancer Foundation's committed to filling some of those gaps and helping people out and making sure that care is available for Mainers. So every dollar that you guys raise is so appreciated. And I just want to say a big thank you before we say anything else, really. And now I will attempt to share my screen if I can. I'm going to share screen. All right, do people see the screen with the 2020 virtual bike clinic? Cool. All right, so I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors and call them out for a moment, because we have just been overwhelmed by how these folks have committed or have remained committed throughout this. Many of these businesses are small businesses who have been hit very hard by the COVID situation. So the fact that they're staying in and supporting the cause and the TRI and Maine Cancer Foundation is huge. So just want to take a moment to recognize all of them. Of course, She Jams is on today hosting and sponsoring these clinics. So special thanks to you guys. And if you have the chance to patronize any of these businesses, we of course highly recommend that and would appreciate it because they've been so good to us. Upcoming clinics. So today we're in the bike clinic, and then next week we have the virtual swim clinic, and then the following week is the transition clinic. So feel free to join for those. They'll of course be recorded as well and available on the website. Usually at some of these clinics, I would be able to show off some of the incentive prizes that we have this year, which I obviously can't do in person. So I put a little slide together just so you could see. I know fundraising is going to be a little bit challenging this year in some ways. So we have modified all of the levels. For example, we're not going to be charging anybody's card this year if you fall short of any level. So please don't feel any concern about that. But we are going to encourage people to fundraise because it is so important right now. So the threshold to get your medal and shirt is $250. Sea bag is $750, which is half of what it normally is, $1,500. At $500 is the runner hat and a guaranteed entry for next year. So typically you have to raise $1,500 to get a spot for the following year. If you raise $500 this year, you'll have a guaranteed entry for 2021. We have the tumbler at $1,500, and then the Chart Metalworks keepsake box is for the top 10. So just wanted to give you guys a chance to see those. And then just our contact information, we'll send this out in the notes from the clinic, but Julie, of course, the race director, you can email her at trirace.director@mainecancer.org, and then I'm the events manager, and you can reach me at julia@mainecancer.org, or try4cure@mainecancer.org also goes to me as well. So that is about it for me, but a big thank you again for joining tonight and for committing to the Try for a Cure in lucky year 13. So as I say, we'll stay on mute, and at the end, if you have any questions, we'll take you off mute, but feel free to leave anything in the chat because we'll keep an eye on that as we go. But next up, you'll hear from a very familiar face to many of you, Julie, the race founder and director.
Hi, everybody. One of the things that number 13 was always my mother's lucky year. And if it weren't for my mom, I probably would have never gotten involved with Maine Cancer Foundation. So I think of her every year at the Tri. But because it's lucky 13, I am going to be able to do the Tri with you. So that makes it lucky for me. And I'm excited to be able to do my actual first Try for a Cure. So even though I know how to run all these clinics, I'm actually going to put it to good use. I've actually done lots of triathlons through the years, so I have done them. But I'm excited to be able to do it with you. And I thought that, you know, virtual triathlon for most is probably, you know, like what does it mean? What is it? How do we do it? And really it's, you know, you do it on your own time, your own place, your own pace. And this year we're not, you know, there's really not a lot of, usually each year we go over rules, do's and don'ts, how you do it, you know, what time you have to be there. This year is one of those years where all that stuff goes out the window. And I think that's a little bit fun on my part because, you know, it gets hard when you get up there always having to tell everybody all the rules and what you have to do and what you can't do and what time you have to be there and, you know, where you have to park and how you know, so this year is really mostly for you and you setting a goal and us helping you to get there. Whether it be to ride your bike for 50 miles or ride your bike on a stationary bike in a studio like the one that's behind me. And I only put that because my other picture was a swimming picture and we are actually a bike clinic today. So really it's about coming up with your own goal and sticking to it. So we're going to go through the bike portion. And at the bike, there's lots of different ways that you can accomplish the bike portion. You can ride your bike outside. You can ride a mountain bike on trails. You can ride a stationary bike at an indoor studio. You can put a trainer on your own road bike inside your house and get your mileage in. But get creative. Do something that's out of the box, maybe something that you've never done before. If you've done the Tri and 15 miles is not that big a deal to you, maybe pick a course that's really hard and challenging with big hills and make it a little shorter because the big hills are going to get to you or whatever. Just challenge yourself, come up with a challenge and a plan on how to get to the challenge, get creative. If you're choosing your goal to go on a stationary bike, that's fun. You know, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of really cool places around. CycleBar is a sponsor this year. That happens to be the studio that's behind me. They're really fun indoor studios, and they will have a couple of free rides for Try for a Cure participants if they want to do their ride at CycleBar. They can, and it will be, I can tell you, the most challenging 45 minutes and the most fun 45 minutes that you could ever have, and it will count towards your triathlon. But it doesn't have to be CycleBar. It doesn't have to be there. It could be in your local gym with all your friends. So it's something like this is easy to bring a whole bunch of friends in with you to accomplish your bike. If you're doing the Try for a Cure on a stationary bike, I would suggest that you ride for at least an hour to cover the distance, if you want to cover the distance. You know, it's again, like I said, it's really easy to invite your friends. You can have a really cool playlist. You can post your playlist that you're going to do your indoor ride on Facebook and share it with your friends. You know, it's something different. So it is an option. Let's see. You know, there's really no safety precautions about riding inside. just wear comfortable clothing, bring a towel and some water to get you through, and you know, have a lot of fun inside. If you decide to do the Tri on a mountain bike, and go someplace like Pineland, Bradbury Mountain, the Greenbelt Trail, you know, I would practice on those. There's a little bit of a difference in riding your bike on the road than it is riding on trails. Some people love to ride on trails and that's all they'll do. Others will not, they don't want to ride outside on the roads because it could be dangerous. And so riding on the trails sometimes, you know, obviously doesn't have any traffic. So it's a little bit safer, yet there are more obstacles to probably overcome, roots, large hills, rocks, things like that. So be really careful about where you go and your level before you get there. Some of these places are, some are really easy, others are very challenging. Safety is the key when it comes to riding outside and on trails. I wouldn't ride alone. I would bring a phone, let somebody know where you're going. Bring all the equipment that you need to change a tire because you're usually out in the woods and you can't really call somebody to drive and help you. Wear a helmet and bright clothing. Great places to trail ride. A really easy one is like the Greenbelt Trail. You could probably go on your road bike on the Greenbelt, and it's very flat, and it's actually quite nice in there with no traffic. Bradbury Mountain is a little bit more challenging, yet it's really beautiful up there. And then Pineland, of course, is absolutely beautiful. So there's just a couple options. If you have a camp or something and you prefer to do your bike, your whole triathlon there, it may be an option for you. So those are creative ways to do Tri for a Cure other than riding on the road. And when you're riding on the road, I always go to Andrea. Andrea is like my bike expert. And she actually has been the Tri for a Cure bike coordinator for the last, I think this would be year 5 for her. And her husband was 5 years, no, was it year 10? I don't know. What year is it?
He did the first 5 and I did the next 7.
Okay. All right. So sorry. They've been doing it tag team for quite some, since the beginning. And so she knows the bike course really well and she knows how to ride a bike, that's for sure. So I'm going to let Andrea take it from here. Go ahead, Andrea, up at your camp, making us all jealous.
I know. I'm sorry, the sun's like going down, so I'm trying to figure out how you can see me without being too much in the shade. So I've been a USAT certified triathlon coach for 12 years now. I'm a co-founder in She Jams. I think I'm spinning here. I think you can see me here. Can you see me here okay? I'm a little bit in the dark. And I love, you know what's funny is I actually started out mountain biking and doing adventure racing, and then I switched to the road, and then I went back off-road. I'm still spinning to try and find some sun, just so that you can see me. And road biking is different, and it's evolved in the 12 years that I've been coaching, but even beyond that, when I was on road bikes, there are so many more women on the roads because of Tri for a Cure. And there are so many more drivers who are more aware of bikers. But when it comes to a car versus a bike, the car will win every time. So a lot of things, even just starting with the very basic, never, ever, 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 ever ride without a helmet. So Maine law says that you have to wear a helmet if you're under 16. I would say you have to wear one regardless. And I want you to think about fit, because it should fit snugly on your head. This isn't buckled, right? But if I wiggle back and forth, that's gonna stay on my head. It's not going anywhere. And I'm not wearing it, because I see this a lot too. I'll see people biking and their ponytails tucked into the back and the top of their helmet's up there. Well, that leaves this whole forehead exposed. So you want that helmet fitting so that it's right in the center of your forehead and it's tightened up. So that's the first one. While we're during the safety of the head, some kind of sunglasses that are polybicarbonate, okay? So they're gonna protect you from if you fly into a beetle and it hits you in the eye or a bug. They're gonna protect you from anything that kicks up from the bike in front of you, particularly on wet days. You'll find that those, you know, if the tire behind you is kicking a bunch of stuff back. So you're riding with glasses, you're riding with the helmet. Now, on race day, gloves are kind of optional, right? Your hands are going to be wet, you're coming out of the water, but when you start to add more miles, gloves have these little gel packs. I don't even, can you see them? Little gel packs that just kind of take some of the weight out of your hands so that you're not absorbing all of the road up. And when you're in your handles, think about riding, right? So I'm going to call them on your hood. It's the covers to your brakes, so that your wrist is in a neutral position. So instead of resting on your handlebars like this, where your wrists are bent, you keep your hands in a neutral position. And you want to have enough bend in your elbow that you can kind of flop them side to side. Because if your elbows are rigid and you're just hanging on there, you might find your hands go tingly numb. Okay? So just try to think about keeping your hands in a neutral position and having kind of soft elbows. As far as tools for riding, you want to always carry with you a set of tire levers. It's so hard, right? I look. So I've got 2 tire levels. You need at least 2 because and that's a whole thing, changing the tire. Whether you know how to do it or somebody stops on the side of the road and they know how to do it and they can help you, you need the tire levers in order to do it. A spare tube, right? If you have a road bike, chances are it's going to have a Preston valve, this little valve right here. If you have a mountain bike, it has, oh God, I just forgot the name of it. It's a different kind of valve. And it just, you can curl it right up. You can put an elastic around it. It's going to be small. You're going to carry a CO2 cartridge, right? So this one happens to be threaded. It has like a screw top here. They make threaded ones and unthreaded ones, and some kind of dispenser for that. So like I have 2 kinds. I have this. I don't know. Can you see it? Doesn't look very bright here. Oh, there we go. Is that better? So I have this kind, Ultimate Plus. The CO2 cartridge is put right inside here to store, and then you put it on your tire, you squeeze the lever. I also have a very simple one that just goes onto the top of the tube. So I've got a saddlebag underneath my seat that I can carry these things in with you. So that way, if you get a flat tire, you have the tools to be able to fix that and keep going, whether you do it yourself or somebody helps you. And I will tell you, there are tons and tons of people, if you're on the side of the road, who will pull over and say, hey, do you need a hand? So checklist for riding, saddlebag, tire levers, a spare tube, a CO2 cartridge, and something to dispense the CO2 with. Now you can go, and I do this also, I have a small little hand pump that I keep with me because sometimes when I'm riding in a group, for whatever reason, there's a lot of flats. So you could have a tiny little pump that you just keep with you if the CO2 is just too much. I double up. As far as carrying on the bike, so you've got your saddlebag underneath your seat, and then they make these cute little like bento boxes that go on your front tube. So it could be something that sits on the top, it could be underneath, but it's something that and so I always recommend riding with your phone on you in case you need to reach somebody, and also riding with ID. So there's a company called Road ID. You can get a little tag you put on your ankle that has your name, your phone number, emergency contact, and you just Velcro it on your ankle, and then it's always there. And I know with phones, you can have emergency things within that too, but some kind of identification so that if you're down, somebody knows who you are. There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Right? Did everybody see that? Victoria had one, a road ID. So when you're riding, you want to have some kind of road ID. Just like that. It's brilliant. you also want to think about, if you're going to be out there for an hour, you want to go through at least 1 water bottle of fluid. And I always like to, particularly as we come into the summer, when you're sweating, it's not just water that you're sweating out your electrolytes. And your electrolytes are sodium, potassium, and magnesium. So you need to replenish those with more. You need to not just put the water in, you need to put those components in too. So while you're training and riding, you find something. This happens to be my very favorite. I tell everybody about it. It's goo. It comes in like 25 different flavors. This is Espresso Love. This is the one I like. I don't even drink coffee, and this is the one I like. You can do bars, you can do blocks, you can do it with, here's a nutrition that you mix with water, Tailwind. I have goo drink tabs, right, that I put in. You can use Gatorade, but think about getting through that entire bottle of water within an hour, or that bottle of fluid. So, and if you're wearing a bike shirt or a tri-shirt, you should have pockets right in the back of your shirt. You can tuck them into that so that you can grab it when you're on the bike, or you could have that nice little bento box on the front of your seat that you can reach for. So kind of a rule of thumb I also like to use is, so 1 bottle per hour that you're out there, and about 100 calories somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes. And that can be, again, that can be within your drink, right? So that could be you're getting some of the calories because you're drinking something that's got calories in it. It could be the goo, it could be a bar, it could be blocks. You want to figure out what works for your body. So it's a good idea to practice riding with it so that you know what works for your body. You don't want to come to a race or go, hey, today's going to be my day for a Tri for a Cure, and I'm going to be going a little extra harder, and I've decided I'm going to do whatever you're going to do, and I'm going to try a goo, and your belly revolts, right? So practice is something. You can find things online. You can find things in the bike shops. Yeah. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions. It's a lot of just personal preference on those things. Rules of the road. Maine state law. You have to obey the same laws as a vehicle. Okay. So you're riding on the right-hand side of the road. You're stopping at stop signs. You're stopping for red lights. And you're signaling where you're going. If you've got a nice wide bike lane, that's beautiful. Just ride it somewhere in the middle of the lane. If you don't have a bike lane, don't go way over to the right so that you're riding on the edge of the pavement, because then you've got nowhere to go if a car is coming at you. You want to stay, like, you're not going to be riding in the middle of the lane. You're going to give yourself a couple feet. But you want to be so that you have enough give that if you have to swerve in, you can, right? Or if all of a sudden there's a pothole, you've got a place to go. So either ride in the middle of your bike lane or ride not on the very edge of the road, but just in a couple feet. Some signals, right? So again, let's start with the most complex and probably the most dangerous, and that's turning left. If you're going to turn left, think car. You need to be in the left-hand lane. You're first gonna look. Do you know how many times I see bikers not even look? They just drift out to the left. It doesn't work. You gotta look over your shoulder, make sure there's nobody there. Signal, right? So this is, I'm going left. I'm pointing with my left hand that I'm going left, and then I'm pulling out into the left. And then if it's a red light, I'm gonna sit right there and wait until I've got a green light, and then I'm gonna go, and when I get into, after I've made that turn, I'm gonna go to the right-hand side again. If you're going to the right, there's 2 different signals you can use. You can bend your arm like this, that you're going to the right, or same with pointing to the left, you can point to the right that you're going to the right, and drivers get it. If you have bikers behind you because you're biking with a group of friends, you're going to, and I think I'm too close for this, let me see here, you're just going to kind of wave your hand back that you're slowing down. You're going to tell them that you're slowing down, that you're approaching a stop sign. Same thing if you're riding with friends and there's debris in the road, if there's a pothole in the road, you're going to point it out. You're just going to point a hand down, whichever side you're on, so that they know that it's there. It's always nice to call out if you see something. You can call out gravel, you can call out pothole, at the same time you're pointing it out. You can call out runners. So if you've got somebody running toward you, you could call out runner up, meaning there's a runner ahead of you. If you're at the back of the pack and there's a car coming up behind you, car back. So that everybody knows there's a car coming up beside you. What other call outs would there be? I think that might be it. Am I missing any, Julie? Am I missing any hand signals there? I think that's it as far as safety on the road. Again, a car versus a bike, the car is going to win every time. So I think you just have to be smart. Cars have a hard time understanding how fast bikers go. So when you're coming into busy intersections, when you're coming into heavily trafficked turns, like when the beaches all open up again, if you're riding out by Prouts Neck and you're riding by Scarborough Beach or you're riding by Crescent Beach, and all those people have to get to their beach, you want to be cautious crossing in front of them. That's all. It just makes sense. What else have I got? Gear. So I would recommend riding in bike shorts, depending on what you're doing, right? So you start out in bike shorts, you kind of let your sits bones toughen up, and then you want to have a pair of tri-shorts. And the difference is really the padding. A bike short has a little more cushion for it. You can use, if you find that you have a hard time because of chafing, they make chamois cream that helps with chafe. You could use what you use for swimming. You could use a Glide, right? So something that helps you to not chafe for if you're new to the bike. And then tri-shorts just have like a real thin layer there as opposed to bike shorts. Because if you are doing the full triathlon, if you're gonna swim and then bike, and you're biking in bike shorts, then those pads and the bike shorts are gonna absorb all kinds of water, and it's not gonna be very comfortable when you bike or when you run. So that's why it's worth investing in a pair of tri-shorts. You can find those online. Sierra Trading Post has them. Some of the bike stores have them. You can Google tri-shorts so you can get a pair there. Hold on. One more thing. Don't ride with music.
I was gonna say this.
You can't do it in a race anyway, but you don't want to do it on the road because you want to hear what's going on around you. And it's a safety thing. You know, who knows? Maybe there's an 18-wheeler bearing down on you and you've got earphones in and they're giving you plenty of room, but you know when they've got that draft, it kind of, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa. So no, no music. And I think I even have a checklist. Hold on, I'm gonna look. Oh, I got one more thing. I knew I had something else. Check your tires every single time you ride. I mean, it could be the same. If you go at 5 o'clock one night and you're going the next morning at 9 o'clock, you're probably fine. But if your bike is hanging out in your basement, if it's hanging out in the garage, if it's sitting on cement, if the temperature has gone from 80 degrees to 40 degrees to 70 degrees, then the air pressure in your tires change. So you want to know what your PSI is that you have to have, your pressure per square inch, and your tires, and you want to have a bike pump. You're going to invest in a bike pump if you haven't already, and every ride, it's just maintenance. It's like brushing your teeth in the morning. You're going to pump your tires before you ride, and you're going to check them, and you will be amazed. Your bike might hold 100, and you just rode 2 days ago, and you go to pump them up, and they're at 60. So if it's a little bit wet out, you can go a smidge under because it just gives you more tire on the road. But for the most part, just go with the recommended PSI. And I think,
why don't you talk to them a little bit about training, like, you know, shifting gears, doing hills, how to get faster and more proficient on the bike.
All right. So proficiency is kind of tricky because it's finding that sweet spot between how fast can you pedal and how much gear can you push. And if you've got a computer on your bike that tells you your power meter, you can look for that, or your cadence. really some of it is you can feel the difference. So you've got in the front of your bike, you have at least 2 rings, if not 3. Your big ring is the ring that you're probably mostly in. And then your small ring is when you have inclines that you need some help on and you need to be able to access those easier gears. So, and then your back ring you're going to go up and down. So what I always have everybody do, particularly in the beginning of the season, and I do it too, because it's understanding your bike, is practice going through all of your gears in the big ring, in the middle ring, in the small ring on the front, and then you're clicking through all of the gears in the back. So if you're on a road bike, your back gears are your right shifter and your front wheel is your left shifter. And you don't want to be afraid of using the front shifter. You want to understand all the gears that you have. And you'll feel that jump in the power. So I've seen a lot of people when they're first coming into biking might ride in just the smaller ring in the front because it's a little bit easier, right? And you're getting into shape and you're getting comfortable on your bike. But if you've got a flat or if you've got a downhill and you move into that big ring, my gosh, the jump in power that you feel when all of a sudden you're pushing that much more is amazing. So you want to, as you're going out there and riding, you want to practice shifting all your gears. You want to practice turning. I mean, even if you just start a ride or end a ride going around your neighborhood, you want to know how to turn. If you have something that's a tight turn, you really want to be comfortable with that turn. If you can, during your training, try to incorporate one long ride in the week. So that's usually the weekend, right? And that's really time in the saddle. And the nice thing about riding outside is you get varied terrain. So maybe one week you go a little bit longer, but it's kind of a flat ride. And then the next week you look for something that includes rolling hills. So you can find up in South Freeport where they host the Lobsterman in September, there's a lot of hills out there. In West Falmouth, there's a lot of hills. Even in the South Portland, Cape Elizabeth area, there are some hills on Sawyer, which is part of the Tri-Frontier course, on Spurwink. There's some great hills there that go like that because it forces you to shift. And hill work, it takes doing hill work in order to get better at hills. And in order to get faster on the bike, it's time in the saddle, but it's also leg strength. So it's pushing yourself. Let me see, what else? Hold on. Julie, any other ideas?
No, not really. I just wanted to, talk about, I always see people at the Tri, they're scared to death to change their gears and they'll stay in the same gear the whole time. And I see a lot of women that, just push it to the hardest gear that's possible and, try to crank their legs and they're just wearing out their quads. So when they get off their bike, they're just toast. So I mean, if you actually have a cadence counter on your bike, which, a lot of computers do, and if you're in the market to go buy a bike computer, definitely include cadence in it just because it's only like $15 or $20 more. And like your optimum cadence is about 90, 80, you'll hover between 85 and 95 at most times, but you'll really start to see where you should be either loosening up your gears or tightening them up because you're either cranking on them or having them go too fast.
When you're going too fast, a really easy giveaway is you're bouncing in your saddle. Yeah. Like if you're bouncing in your saddle, you just don't have enough tension and you're not generating any power. And when you're cranking because it is hard to turn over. Yeah. You can also, don't be afraid to get up out of the saddle because then you've got, if you've got a hill and hills are challenging for you and you're standing up, then you get to use your body weight to help turn that pedal over, right? So standing up, but these are all things, it's time in the saddle. It's time practicing shifting. It's time practicing standing up. It's time to practice going fast too, like not being afraid of going down a hill and in picking up speed. So for those of you who have done the Tri-Parcours in the past or are going to do the route as part of your tri, when you get to shore road, that's a lot of hills. It's rolling hills. It's like this. So you're going to be shift, 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 and then you're going to be shift, 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 right? You're going to get up the hill, you're going to go down the hill. You're going to get up the hill, you're going to go down the hill. And you want to take advantage of those downhills and have fun with them. Be really comfortable with them. So, any questions? Can we ask questions now?
Yes, and maybe I will take everybody off mute. Feel free to remute yourself if you do not want to be off of mute. But everyone is off mute. So if anyone wants to ask a question, there doesn't look like anyone's come in on the chat, but now is the time. I think everyone wants to get out on the road on this beautiful late afternoon.
Yeah, it's a perfect night actually for a bike ride.
Yeah.
A little bit of a breeze. You can wear your short sleeve. You're also going to get a PDF. When you go back to the website, this will be posted, but there'll also be a PDF on there too that will give you some links to go look at biking rules of the road, a tire changing video, and some basic maintenance for your bike. To maintain your bike and keep it in good condition is not very hard. And really the most basic thing of all is just keeping your bike clean. Every time you ride your bike, you should clean it after you come in. And, there are a couple lubrications that you should do to your chain after you wash it down that are extremely easy to do. So it will really keep your bike in good working order. And I think, again, the most important thing is to have a good working bike so that you can go out there and enjoy your ride versus, having your bike break down or having a flat tire. And really the biggest reason for people getting flat tires is they don't have the tire pressure to where it should be. So, I mean, yes, you do sometimes hit a nail or hit a rock the wrong way and puncture your tube, but more than likely it's because your tubes, your wheels are not inflated enough and you've just hit something that will make it go flat. So, making sure that you have tire pressure before you go out is really important too.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
All right.
I'll see you on the roads.
Yeah.
Well, everyone cross your fingers that I recorded this correctly. It seems to still be recording, so I think I did it. And we will have this up on the website, if not tomorrow, then by Monday. But thank you all again so very much for doing this. And we're really excited to see all of you guys on the road and sharing your rides and runs and swims. And if we can help with anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're here, we're remote, but we're here and we're all in this together. So thank you all so very much. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.